Hello friends, Zach here. I'm in Spain yet again. I am in the paddock of Monteblanco Circuit, just outside of Sevilla. And that thunder you hear in the distance is Ducati's new for 2017 SuperSport S, which I'm about to ride around this lovely circuit on this lovely day and take you guys for a ride, see what it's like as a track day machine. And then eventually this afternoon, we'll take it for a ride on the street and we will talk about how it handles as a road bike, which Ducati is quick to point out is the main purpose of this bike. So yeah, we'll do a flying lap. We'll talk about how it works as a track day bike. We'll do a street ride, and hopefully you guys learn something about this new for 2017 model. You ready? I'm ready. Okay. Okay team, here we go. Green flag at Monteblanco Circuit. Let me check out this SuperSport. A quick recap on what this bike is. You got your 937cc hypermotard engine. You've got a monster frame, more or less, and all wrapped up in bodywork that kind of looks like a Panigale. That's pretty cool. Okay, and this is like my 8th lap ever on this track, so I'm gonna try not to completely screw it up. Okay, one warm-up lap under my belt. Now I can take you guys for a spin here at Monteblanco. First up is this long front straightaway. We can light the fuse on this motor. Okay, good stuff. You may notice that I'm not using the clutch to shift. It's because this sucker's got a quick shifter, which is pretty cool. Standard on the S model, an upgrade on the base bike. The brakes are not the top spec M50 Brembos, but the second tier ones, but they're pretty darn good. This bike's pretty light, doesn't need a whole lot of brake really. This circuit's really stop-start, but it's good for this engine. Lots of torque. This is my favorite turn right here, this little left-right. Oh, look at that. Beautiful set of corners, so cool. Woohoo! Now, Ducati claims about 460 pounds for this bike, I think 463 maybe. It feels pretty light on a racetrack. It feels compact. It's not difficult to ride. Ducati says this is a road bike first and foremost, but it works really well as a track bike, I have to say. It's a ton of fun right now. You can probably hear me breathing hard. It's because I don't know this track, and yeah, I'm working hard. This is fun. I mean, the bike's making me sweat a little bit. Okay, there we go. One lap of Monteblanco. So, I'm going to take another spin. Okay. One lap of Monteblanco, team, and yeah, it's a darn fun track bike, I have to say. I think people are going to be stoked to ride this thing on the track. It's pretty cool. Okay, so that's track segment. I'm going to cut you guys loose and catch up with you on the street, and we'll see how this sucker handles street ride through Spain. Cool. Okay, doke. Over the motorway and off on the street ride for the 2017 Ducati SuperSport. Exiting the racetrack, and we're gonna climb into the mountains. Should be good. All these folks ahead of me, by the way, are more journalists doing the same thing I'm doing. That's my buddy Rennie from Cycle News right there. In front of him, French-Canadian guy, I think. He seems nice. So what I'm riding right now is the base SuperSport. You'll notice that it's red instead of the white that the SuperSport S I was riding on track was. This bike also has Marzocchi 43mm fork instead of the Öhlins 48mm fork on the S, and it has a Zack shock instead of the Öhlins shock on the S. It also doesn't have a quick shifter, so yeah, I gotta use the clutch like a sucker. Good news is that the quick shifter is an option for the base bike, so if you want to do that, you can. Okay, I reckon that's all the stats I really need to talk about right now. I'm gonna log some miles on this thing, and I'm gonna check back in with you guys when we're on some twisty roads. Okay, here we are. Welcome back. We're not in any twisty roads. I lied, I guess. We are on some open straight roads going, I don't know, roughly freeway speeds. So I figured we'd talk about that, because why not? First things first, before I forget, this windshield's pretty sleek, pretty small, but if you pull on it, it adjusts up 2 inches, says Ducati. Yeah, pretty handy, and no real, they said there was a real goal to make it not visible. They didn't want there to be big handles or screws or anything like that. They wanted it to be clean, and I think they accomplished that. And it takes the air from hitting me in the stomach to hitting me in the middle of the chest. So it's not like it's a ton of wind protection, but it does help. It does take some wind off your chest and add to that sport touring kind of feel that this bike has. First impressions so far, I think it feels really light and really small for a Ducati, even compared to Panigale or something, which is sort of like classically thin and agile. The SuperSport just feels small, and that's a good thing, I think. It just feels kind of simple and raw and, I don't know, pure, just like a basic motorcycle. It's not terribly complicated, and it doesn't feel overweight. 40, that's pretty slow. They're like cows in the road or something. This motor is real satisfying on this kind of stuff. It's open roads. You get that nice Ducati intake howl. You can hear it sucking in air. Makes good torque, good mid-range. It's really fun. It's playful enough that, you know, it feels like it wants to have fun. It's not too high-strung like a superbike motor, but it's also small and easy to use. Makes a nice Ducati noise too. ADV bros. ADV muchachos, maybe, since we're in Spain. I don't really know if that's right or not, but some of the Ducati staff and engineers, they seem kind of worried. Well, first of all, they seem worried that we were going to classify this as a sport bike. They kept saying it's a street bike, it's a street bike, it's a street bike, because I think they don't want, I don't know, they don't want us journalists to tell everyone that it's supposed to be a hyper sport bike and it's supposed to be high performance. But to me, it has plenty of power. I mean, riding on the track, it had plenty of power, and riding in situations like this, you come out of a corner and open the throttle and it's plenty of power. They claim 113 horsepower from this engine. I think when we had
Hyper 939 on our dyno. It was more like 100 at the rear wheel, but still, that's totally enough. Some properly twisty stuff here. I mean, like the bike is good, don't get me wrong, but this road, holy moly, it's insane. So good. Okay, in the middle of a little Spanish hillside town now, and we're hitting some potholes and some manholes and some speed bumps. And this is, you know, what Ducati kind of had in mind with this bike. Every day, ride it every day, ride it all over, ride it to work. And it's pretty good at this. I don't know if it's hyper motard good, doesn't have quite the same riding position and whatnot, but it handles this stuff just fine. And now we're out of the little Spanish town, and now trundling along this bumpy mountain road. Not very fast, but just taking in the sights. Pretty cool. And this, I think, is what, you know, this is what Ducati's trying to sell with this bike. Like, you have your significant other on the back, you got your optional saddlebags, you know, and you can just sort of cruise along and have a weekend away, and you're on a sexy sport bike looking thing, but you don't have to deal with the punishment that you'd be taking if you were riding an R6 or a Panigale, you know? Adventure bike territory this is, I suppose. Come to think of it, Hyper would be good, but Ducati would say this is a multi-strada road. Still, the SuperSport's handling it. And yeah, it's not outrageous. It's pretty fun, actually. I'll be honest, I don't really have a whole lot to say about the bike right now. Just wanted you guys to get a load of this road. It's crazy how good it is. Wow. This is just like an amusement park, this road. It's freaking crazy. It's so awesome. So epic. I don't know if I've ever been on a public road that was this smooth. It's like a billiard table. What? I'm geeking out here. The riding position is basically, I've come to learn, smack dab what Ducati promised the bike would be good for. It's not a sport tour. I can feel a little bit of pressure in my wrists and my hands after riding for a few hours now. It's not uncomfortable by any means, but it doesn't feel like a sport tour. It's not super laid back and plush. It has a little hard edge to it, which is sort of what you'd expect from Ducati, and I don't dislike it. I've also been playing with the ride modes a little bit here. Yeah, there's sport, touring, and rain. The rain mode I didn't really like, first of all because it's not raining, and second of all because it softens power quite a bit, whereas touring is just a throttle response thing. It's just a little bit more mellow, but you still get all the power. It's very linear, and I like that. Sport is what I used on the track, and it's much more aggressive. It's not too aggressive, I'm not going to say that. It's just for this kind of riding that I'm doing right now, I really have found touring to be my favorite one. It feels very Yeah, linear is the best word for it. Just when you twist the throttle 30%, you get 30% throttle. And that's what I like. Also, I feel compelled to say that the fueling is pretty darn good on this thing. Those of you who've watched my videos before, you know that that's kind of a pet peeve of mine. But yeah, right as you come into a corner, you're off the gas right here, and you get on the gas and pick it up really, really smooth. I like that. Makes a big difference in, I don't know, inspiring confidence and just being comfortable on the bike. Something else I always complain about or talk about is what I do. I talk about it. Mirrors. These ones are good. They're not great. You know, maybe if they made them bigger, they didn't look cool. And I don't know. It's a Ducati. It's got to look cool, and it does. So I'll give them that. The mirrors are pretty sleek, integrated blinkers and everything. But I could use a little bit bigger mirrors. Just saying. Some kind of festival going on here. Holy moly. Yeah, this guy likes the Ducati. Oh. What do we got going on here? Those chicks are dressed up like League of Their Own. How do they... 12,995. And for the SuperSport S, it's 14,700. That's got to be the most affordable, fully fared, which I can appreciate. I think is pretty cool, actually. But honestly, all the specs and the comparisons and the marketing mumbo jumbo, that's not why I think this bike is cool. I think the concept is cool. A sport bike, an everyday sport bike, a sort of gentleman's express that's accessible and versatile. You know, the whole practicality and versatility thing is something that manufacturers harp on all the time, and yet I feel like it's really underrated. I feel like if you spend tens of thousands of dollars on a motorcycle, you should be able to do lots of stuff with it, realistically. And I think practically, the SuperSport is awesome. I mean, you know, yeah, it's not the most comfortable touring bike, and it's not the most capable sport bike on a racetrack, but it's darn well good enough at both for you to entertain yourself. And I think that's cool. I like it. Plus, it's a cool name, right? SuperSport. Yeah, look at this kid. All right. That was a clapped out old dirt bike he was riding. Had to get one wheelie out of the way, you know. Just while I had the opportunity. A couple more things I guess we have to cover. One is the dash, which there haven't been any red lights, so I haven't know. The dash, and can you back it in? Yes, you can back it in. Question answered. Okay, here we are, back in the Monteblanco paddock. And I'm just gonna swing around and show you guys the dash here before I park this bad Nelly for the day. There it is. There it is. Maybe one of the more surprising things about this bike is the dash. It's not super easy to use. This is good. The little two color, it's simple. You got the bar tack across the top, speed big in the middle. Ride modes you control with this little guy on the left here. Tap it and then scroll down, select your mode, hold it down, and it selects. That's all well and good. But what gets tricky is when you want to fiddle with settings. So you hold down the button and then you get in here, and then you're in. You got your TSU, you got your RPM, battery, units, lap, service, data, clock, daytime running light, I think, BL. Not even sure what BL is. I can figure it out if I thought about it. Pin, RM. So RM is where all the juicy stuff is. That's ride mode. So if you select RM, you can go in to sport, say, and this will be familiar to any of you who are familiar with Ducati menus, but if you're not, it's a little tricky. So yeah, if you want to change throttle response, for example, you go into Here you can do medium, select, exit. If you want to change traction control or ABS modes for the certain modes, you can select it, and then you can go down to 2, or you can go up to 6 and then select 6 and then hit exit. And when you're done, you got to go to mem and hold it down. The dash will tell you to wait, and then release it when it says mem OK, and then exit, and your settings are saved. But it's yeah, you gotta kind of know your way around to make it happen. There you go. 2017 SuperSport. Super sporty, no? Yep. Sounds like a Ducati. Sounds pretty mean. I like it. Okay. Took you through the dash, just like I promised I would. We saw if it would back it in, which it does. I think that might be just about all I can do for you guys. Yeah, I've covered it all. So I'm going to sign off from Spain. See you later.